Hey guys, Brian Hill with The Complete Combatant. This is Rule 3, which states you should keep your finger off the trigger until your sight's on the target and you made a decision to shoot. I'd like to explore that a little bit with you and think about it and the things that we should be doing. How are we going to see the sights relative to the target size? What speed will we press the trigger at? When will we actually touch the trigger? What position will the gun be in? Okay. It sounds very simple until you have to apply it in a fluid, moving environment where things may change. So we've got to think about how we're going to use the gun before we draw it. All right. We don't want to make the decision to shoot immediately. So a lot of us at dry practice, we're always pressing the trigger. So we're automating that system. As soon as the gun's out, we come out and press the trigger. But you may draw the gun to a low ready or a high ready position, which would be entirely different. So I've got a SIRT pistol on me, which is a non-functioning firearm replica. All right. But if I draw to a low ready here, see my fingers staying off the trigger. It's slightly bent because that gives us a mechanical advantage, and it allows it to move to the trigger easily than it being straight like this. All right, and I'm going to keep my finger off. If I decide to shoot, then I have to think about how I'm going to press that trigger and how I'm going to see the sights. Depends on the size of the target, how much of the sights I'm going to see. So I've got our rifle target here, and this is an anatomical target that is somewhat correct. You know, it may be different according to each person, but this is where the heart is located, and that's about the size of the shooting area. So if I was going to shoot shots, say at 5 yards, I'm going to see my sights moving up and down or around a lot more. We'd call it a flash. But if I had to make this an optical shot, I'm going to see what we call a float, as long as it's in there. But if I had to shoot something as small as that, maybe directly under the ear, all right, I'm going to see focused. So I'm going to think about how I'm going to see the sights. Is it going to be a flash, a float, or a focus? And then with our trigger speeds, what we want to be able to do is press the trigger according to the task at hand. If I'm under a lot of pressure and I have somebody getting closer, I'm going to press the trigger quickly. All right, my finger will be on it. I'll be moving very quickly, seeing a flash. But here in this float, I'm going to give it a little bit of prep and make sure I pay attention because it won't accept much error. So that's going to be my very easy, not quickly, careful press. All right, because I don't want it to wander out of this zone. So I'll take it up with a little bit of prep and then gently press the trigger. But if I have to shoot this, what I'm going to do is have a precision press. All right, I'm going to probably prep all of it out and gently keep the trigger moving until the gun fires. Therefore, I don't violate the laws of inertia. So this allows us to think about how we're going to use the gun. But what if something in the environment changed? If there's a target in front or behind, or are you practicing also to take your finger off the trigger and to stop the shooting process? It's very difficult for some people to stop once they get started. So this rule also says that. And then from the draw, the big one is when do you actually touch the trigger? So you've decided you're going to draw the gun and that you're going to shoot. You have to think about this. Is when does my finger actually touch the trigger? I get a lot of answers in class where people say, when your sights are on the target. Okay, but what if our context is we're very close to each other, I'm at contact distance, all right, and I'm going to draw here. See, I'm not actually seeing my sights, I'm using a kinesthetic index to do this. What if it's less than 2 arms length and I'm in a compressed fighting position? See, I'm not seeing my sights, so I have to think how I'm going to do that. And if it's moving very quickly at longer than 2 arms length, do I press the trigger sooner or later? Am I getting on it sooner or later? Because my hand speeds are going to be different. All right. If I'm drawing very quickly, what we tend to find is finger has to catch up because the hand speed's so quick. So I'm a little later to the trigger. But if I'm drawing to a very precision shot with a good stop, what we'll see is I actually get on the trigger a bit sooner relative to the task because I'm going to be prepping the trigger. So this is a very complex rule, and it says know how you're going to use the gun, know what you're going to see, and know what you're going to feel in the trigger relative to the environment around you. All right? Your practice should be rich with this. You should have non-threats. You should have the ability to draw to different positions. You think about something changing and the ability to stop from each of those. And now remember, all the other rules come with it. All right? Got to keep that gun loaded, know the condition. You got to point the muzzle in a safe direction. So if there was a non-threat right here, you can't draw with your normal draw. Maybe you have to move. This is a very rich and difficult rule. Know how you're going to touch the trigger and when. Okay? Relative to the decision that you've made how you're going to use the gun. As it comes out of the holster, is it a nervous ready? Is it a low ready? Is it a high ready? All right, are we slightly off with a metro ready, but our finger's staying off the trigger until it's time to shoot. And then when you decide to shoot, how much of the sights I'm going to see? Are they going to be flashing, floating, or focused? And I'm going to press that trigger quickly, carefully, or precisely. All right, a lot to do there. A lot of practice and good practice. Remember, these rules tell you what you can do, not what you can't do. I'm Brian Hill with The Complete Combatant, and as always, measure, refine, and perform.